Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, right here in the live studios of Hive, Kent, Southeast England, just near the English Channel. We're dedicating our readings of Srila Prabhupada's books to the devotees of Ukraine, and I'll keep doing this until something becomes clearer. The Vaishnava is paradukha-dukhi. He's happy when he sees others happy, and he's sad or feels compassion when he sees others suffering. And by no fault of their own, the people of Ukraine, particularly the devotees who are faultless, are having to undergo tremendous suffering. So we dedicate our reading of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to them. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Mahima Stotram by Srila Sanatana Goswami, who was instructed for a longer period of time at one session by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu than any other devotee on the earth. And he wrote this glorification of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as a result. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha, Sarva Vedaika Satpala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja, Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Purāṇa, Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Prabho, Kali Dvandoditaditya, Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya, Prema Varshakshadayate, Sarvada Sarvasevyaya, Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin, Madguro Man Mahadana, Man Nisdadaga Mad Bhagya, Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin, atini chochata kada, hanamun chagadachen mam, prem narit kantayok spuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we reached the 17th chapter, rather, of the first canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Maharaj Parikshit has found the personality of Kali herding the cow and the bull. We're beginning with text 9, 17th chapter. Maharaj Parikshit is speaking. O son of Surabhi, you need not lament. You need lament no longer now. There is no need to fear this low-class Shudra. And, Mother Cow, as long as I am living as the ruler and subduer of all envious men, there is no cause for you to cry. Everything will be good for you. Purport. Protection of bulls and cows and all other animals can be possible only when there is a state ruled by an executive head like Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit addresses the cow as mother, for he is a cultured, twice-born Kshatriya king. Surabhi is the name of the cows which exist in the spiritual planets and are especially reared by Lord Sri Krishna himself. As men are made after the form and features of the Supreme Lord, so also the cows are made after the form and features of the Surabhi cows in the spiritual kingdom. In the material world, the human society gives all protection to the human being, but there is no law to protect the descendants of Surabhi, who can give all protection to men by supplying the miracle food, milk. But Maharaj Parikshit and the Pandavas were fully conscious of the importance of the cow and bull, and they were prepared to punish the cow killer with all chastisement, including death. There has sometimes been agitation for the protection of the cow, but for want of pious executive heads and suitable laws, the cow and the bull are not given protection. The human society should recognize the importance of the cow and the bull and thus give all protection to these important animals, following in the footsteps of Maharaj Parikshit. For protecting the cows and Brahminical culture, the Lord, who is very kind to the cow and the Brahmanas, Go Brahmana Hitaya, will be pleased with us and will bestow upon us real peace. Texts 11 and 12. O chaste one, the king's good name, duration of life, and good rebirth vanish when all kinds of living beings are terrified by miscreants in his kingdom. It is certainly the prime duty of the king to subdue first the sufferings of those who suffer. Therefore I must kill this most wretched man, because he is violent against other living beings. Purport. When there is some disturbance caused by wild animals in a village or town, the police or others take action to kill them. Similarly, it is the duty of the government to kill at once all bad social elements, such as thieves, dacoits, and murderers. The same punishment is also due to animal killers, because the animals of the state are also the praja. Praja means one who has taken birth in the state, and this includes both men and animals. Any living being who takes birth in a state has the primary right to live under the protection of the king. The jungle animals are also subject to the king, and they also have a right to live. So what to speak of domestic animals like the cows and bulls? Any living being, if he terrorizes Every living being. Where am I? Any living being, if he terrifies other living beings, is a most wretched subject, and the king should at once kill such a disturbing element. As the wild animal is killed when it creates disturbances, similarly any man who unnecessarily kills or terrifies the jungle animals or other animals must be punished at once. By the law of the Supreme Lord, all living beings, in whatever shape they may be, are the sons of the Lord, and no one has any right to kill another animal unless it is so ordered by the codes of natural law. The tiger can kill a lower animal for his subsistence, but a man cannot kill an animal for his subsistence. That is the law of God, who has created the law that a living being subsists by eating another living being. Thus the vegetarians are also living by eating other living beings. Therefore the law is that one should live only by eating specific living beings, as ordained by the law of God. The Ishopanishad directs that one should live by the direction of the Lord and not at one's sweet will. A man can subsist on varieties of food grains and milk ordained by God, and there is no need of animal food, save and except in particular cases. The illusioned king or executive head, even though sometimes advertised as a great philosopher and learned scholar, will allow slaughterhouses in the state without knowing that torturing poor animals clears the way to hell for such foolish kings or executive heads. The executive head must always be alert to the safety of the prajas, both man and animal, and inquire whether a particular living being is harassed at any place. The executive head must always be alert to satisfy to the safety of the prajas, both man and animal, and inquire whether a particular living being is harassed at any place by another living being. The harassing living being must at once be caught and put to death, as shown by Maharaj Parikshit. The people's government, or government by the people, should not allow killing of innocent animals by the sweet will of foolish government men. They must know the codes of God, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Maharaj Parikshit quotes here that according to the codes of God, the irresponsible king or state executive jeopardizes his good name, duration of life, power, and strength, and ultimately his progressive march towards a better life and salvation after death. Such foolish men do not even believe in the existence of a next life. While commenting on this particular verse, we have in our presence the statement of a great modern politician who was recently died and left his will, which discloses his poor fund of knowledge of the codes of God mentioned by Maharaj Parikshit. The politician was so ignorant of the codes of God that he writes, "I do not believe in any such ceremonies, and to submit to them, even as a matter of form, would be hypocrisy and an attempt to delude ourselves and others. I have no religious sentiment in the matter." Contrasting these statements of a great politician in the modern age with those of Maharaj Parikshit, we find a vast difference. Maharaj Parikshit was pious according to the scriptural codes, whereas the modern politician goes by his personal belief and sentiments. Any great man of the material world is, after all, a conditioned soul. He is bound by his hands and feet by the ropes of material nature. And still, the foolish conditioned soul thinks of himself as free to act by his whimsical sentiments. The conclusion is that the people in the time of Maharaj Parikshit were happy, and the animals were given proper protection, because the executive head was not whimsical or ignorant of God's law. Foolish, faithless creatures tried to avoid the existence of the Lord and proclaim themselves secular at the cost of valuable human life. The human life is especially meant for knowing the science of God, but foolish creatures, especially in this age of Kali, instead of knowing God scientifically, make propaganda against religious belief as well as the existence of God, even though they are always bound by the laws of God, by the symptoms of birth, death, old age, and disease. Text 12. He, Maharaj Parikshit, repeatedly addressed and questioned the bull thus. O son of Surabhi, who has cut off your 3 legs? In the state of the kings who were obedient to the laws of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, there is no one as unhappy as you. Purport. The kings, or the executive heads of all states, must know the codes of Lord Krishna, generally Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and must act accordingly in order to fulfill the mission of human life, which is to make an end to all miseries of material conditions. One who knows the codes of the Lord Krishna can achieve this end without any difficulty. In the Bhagavad Gita, in a synopsis, we can understand the codes of Godhead, and in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the same codes are explained further. In a state where the codes of Krishna are followed, no one is unhappy. Where such codes are not followed, the first sign is that 3 legs of the representative of religion are cut off, and thereby all miseries follow. When Krishna was personally present, the codes of Krishna were being followed without question. But in his absence, such codes are presented in the pages of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam for the guidance of the blind persons who happen to be at the helm of all affairs. Text 13. O bull, you are offenseless and thoroughly honest. Therefore I wish all good to you. Please tell me of the perpetrator of these mutilations, which blackmail the reputation of the sons of Pritha. Purport. The reputation of the reign of Maharaj Ramachandra and that of the kings who followed in the footsteps of Maharaj Ramachandra, like the Pandavas and their descendants, are never to be forgotten, because in their kingdom, offenseless and honest living beings were never in trouble. The bull and the cow are the symbols of the most offenseless living beings, because even the stool and urine of these animals are utilized to benefit human society. The descendants of the sons of Pritha, like Maharaj Parikshit, were afraid of losing their reputations. But in the modern days, the leaders are not even afraid of killing such offenseless animals. Herein lies the difference between the reign of those pious kings and the modern states ruled by irresponsible executive heads without knowledge of the codes of God. Text 14. Whoever causes offenseless living beings to suffer must fear me anywhere and everywhere in the world. By curbing dishonest miscreants, one automatically benefits the offenseless. Purport. Dishonest miscreants flourish because of cowardly and impotent executive heads of state. But when the executive heads are strong enough to curb all sorts of dishonest miscreants in any part of the state, certainly they cannot flourish. When the miscreants are punished in an exemplary manner, automatically all good fortune follows. As said before, it is the prime duty of the king or the executive head to give protection in all respects to the peaceful, offenseless citizens of the state. The devotees of the Lord are by nature peaceful and offenseless, and therefore it is the prime duty of the state to arrange to convert everyone to become a devotee of the Lord. Thus, automatically, there will be peaceful, offenseless citizens. Then the only duty of the king will be to curb the dishonest miscreants. That will bring about peace and harmony all over human society. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Text 15. An upstart living being who commits offenses by torturing those who are offenseless shall be directly uprooted by me, even though he be a denizen of heaven with armor and decorations. Purport. The denizens of the heavenly kingdom are called amara, or deathless, due to their possessing a long span of life, far greater than that of the human beings. For a human being who has only a maximum 100-year duration of life, a span of life spreading over millions of years is certainly considered to be deathless. For example, from the Bhagavad Gita, we learn that on the Brahmaloka planet, the duration of one day is calculated to be 4,300,000 times 1,000 solar years. Similarly, in other heavenly planets, one day is calculated to be 6 months. To be 6 months of this planet, and the inhabitants get a life of 10 million of their years. Therefore, in all higher planets, since the span of life is far greater than that of the human being, the denizens are called deathless by imagination, although actually no one within the material universe is deathless. Maharaj Parikshit challenges even such denizens of heaven if they torture the offenseless. This means that the state executive head must be as strong as Maharaj Parikshit, so that he may be determined to punish the strongest offenders. It should be the principle of a state executive head that the offender of the codes of God is always punished. Text 16. The supreme duty of the ruling king is to give all protection to law-abiding citizens and to chastise those who stray from the ordinances of the scriptures in ordinary times when there is no emergency. Purport. In the scriptures, there is mention of apad dharma, or occupational duty at times of extraordinary happenings. It is said that sometimes the great sage Vishwamrita had to live on the flesh of dogs in some extraordinary, dangerous position. In cases of emergency, one may be allowed to live on the flesh of animals of all description, but that does not mean that there should be regular slaughterhouses to feed the animal killers, and that this system should be encouraged by the state. No one should try to live on flesh in ordinary times simply for the sake of the palate. If anyone does so, the king or the executive head should punish him for gross enjoyment. There are regular scriptural injunctions for different persons engaged in different occupational duties, and one who follows them is called swadharmasta, or faithful in one's prescribed duties. In the Bhagavad Gita 18:48, it is advised that one should not give up his occupational prescribed duties, even if they are not always flawless. Such swadharma might be violated in cases of emergency if one is forced by circumstances, but they cannot be violated in ordinary times. The state executive head is to see that such swadharma is not changed by the follower, whatever it may be, and he should give all protection to the follower of swadharma. The violator is subject to punishment in terms of the Shastra, and the duty of the king is to see that everyone strictly follows his occupational duty as prescribed in the scripture. Text 17. The personality of religion said, "These words, just spoken by you, befit a person of the Pandava dynasty. Captivated by the devotional qualities of the Pandavas, even Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, performed duties as a messenger." Purport. The assurances and challenges made by Maharaj Parikshit are never exaggerations of his real power. The Maharaj said that even the denizens of heaven could not escape his stringent government if they were violators of religious principles. He was not falsely proud, for a devotee of the Lord is equally as powerful as the Lord, or sometimes more powerful by his grace. And any promise made by a devotee, though it may be ordinarily difficult to fulfill, is properly executed by the grace of the Lord. The Pandavas, by their unalloyed devotional service and full surrender unto the Lord, made it possible for the Lord to become a chariot driver, or sometimes their letter messenger. Such duties executed by the Lord for his devotee are always very pleasing to the Lord, because the Lord wants to render service to his unalloyed devotee, whose life has no other engagement than to serve the Lord with full love and devotion. Maharaj Parikshit, grandson of Arjuna, the celebrated friendly servitor of the Lord, was a pure devotee of the Lord, like his grandfather, and therefore the Lord was always with him, even from the time when he was helplessly lying in the womb of his mother and was attacked by the blazing Brahmastra, weapon of Ashwatthama, A devotee is always under the protection of the Lord, and therefore the assurance of protection by Maharaj Parikshit could never be without meaning. The personality of religion accepted this fact and thus thanked the king for his being true to his exalted position. Hare Krishna. So we'll stop here, the reading, and call upon the assembled sages to come forward with their reflections. Abhaya's hunt.
First is from Sudevi Dasi.
Hare Krishna, Sudevi Dasi.
She says, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
And from Christopher Kenzior.
Christopher Kenzior. I think that this is not the first time he's been.
Yesterday.
Yesterday was the first time. Anyway, Christopher, welcome aboard. Hare Krishna.
He says, Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances.
Jai Ho. Our deep respects to you.
And from Gopakanya Devi Dasi.
Haribo Gopakanya Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj, and all lucky assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai Ho Maharaj, thank you.
Jai, all glories to His divine grace.
And from Rati Manjari.
Haribo Rati.
Jai Guru Maharaj, kindly enlighten us with another shower of Bhagavatam wisdom.
Hare Krishna. So be it.
And from Rai Kanu.
Haribo Rai Kani Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, glories to Prabhupada.
From Rasika Shiramani.
Risika Shirmani, Hare Krishna. He's in the next room.
He says, Hari Hari Bo.
Hari Haribo. That's it? I could use the extra time to call it. You know who. Let us all, again, I'm going to repeat this. I said it in the beginning. We're dedicating these readings during this time of crisis, and we heard some purports that were really, really relevant to what's going on today. What happens when a rogue, becomes the head of state and just on a whim, causes untold suffering to millions of people. It's actually sickening. It makes one feel ill just to think about how a person could do that, what's happening now. And the whole world, or at least most of the world, is standing up, So let's see what's going to happen. It's going to be a very interesting time. I read a story many, many, many years ago about a journalist who went to Germany to cover the story of Hitler. This was before Hitler had actually invaded Poland. And from what I hear, the statements of Putin are very similar, to the kinds of things that Hitler used as an excuse, to invade Poland. So this journalist had gone to write a story. This was before the World War happened. And he was there with his notepad and his pen, and he was on a huge boulevard in Germany somewhere, and they were having these rallies, and Hitler would come on a car down the road, and the people would be on either side of the street, millions of people. And as the car kind of came close to where the journalist was, all the people started raising their hands and going, ah, ah, ah. And he felt his heart being drawn to it. And then he just checked himself, shut his book, and just left. And he wrote about that experience, how, it's a kind of phenomenon, like mob violence, like mob rule, riots and things like that. And then I was realizing that I always wondered how anybody could follow a person like that. But the fact is that the people who are rulers like that, they terrify the people around them, and people follow out of fear because, they build up these huge militaries, and then they have the power to, to kill anyone who gets in their way. And in this way, the masses of people follow a powerful leader, for good or bad. That's the nature of the material world, law of nature. We're hearing a lot about what the laws ordained by the Lord, how they're enacted by the modes of material nature. So no one can break them without being punished. So let us all pray together that those persons who are perpetrating this, violence and injustice on innocent people, 40 million people. Ukraine is 44 million people. Okay, so we rededicate our readings and we're waiting for reflections.
From Rati Manjari.
Hare Krishna, Rati.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. It is so good to hear that there is true knowledge in the world that we can benefit from, even in these troubled times in which everyone feels shaken.
Yes.
Thank you for diligently propagating the Bhagavatam knowledge.
Thank you so much. I will continue. If we become fixed in this knowledge of the Bhagavatam, then we become free from fear and anxiety, no matter what the circumstances are.
And from Nandasuno.
Well, Hare Krishna, Nandasuno.
He says, Hare Krishna Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances.
Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nice to hear from you like this.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Haribo, Haribo.
And from Bhakti Rupa.
Jai Bhakti Rupa.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, sorry if it's a silly inquiry, but I'm struggling to understand how the earth in the form of a cow appears before Parikshit Maharaj. I'm assuming they're on the surface of the earth. I was just wondering how best to see what's happening.
Yes, just as the earth, the earth is personified, everything is personified. And the earth, do you remember before Krishna appeared, when these demons, overburdened her, she went with other demigods to appeal to the Lord. So the earth was still there in the form of the sphere, the earth, and yet the personified earth, it means that there's a personified deity of the earth, and that's who's appearing as in the form of a cow.
From Gauranga Gopal.
Yes, Gauranga Gopal.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada notes that, quote, the assurances and challenges made by Maharaj Parikshit are never exaggerations of his real power, unquote. Nowadays, so many assurances and promises are being made by executive heads or candidates to such position. But contrary to King Parikshit, most of the time, their motive is either full-on selfish, or they are just attempting to distract the people they are trying to impress for some vicious reason.
Yes.
Unfortunately, all their promises are empty, and even if some have good intention, they do not have the blessings of Krishna to actually fulfill them like King Parikshit did.
Yes, because in general, the leaders of today, they don't have any idea of the laws of God. They've given up. They've lost their faith in Scripture. They don't refer to Scripture in order to determine what their duties are and how to deal with particular situation that they have to deal with. This is the tragedy of the so-called modernized, civilized human society. They've lost faith. They've lost in God. They've lost knowledge of the laws of nature, in God's laws, completely. Therefore, they're powerless. And they compete with one another, and might makes right. And that's what's happening. There is no real philosophical or spiritual understanding or morality. Whatever, it's might makes right. Whoever has the power, lords it over the others at all costs. But the holy name of the Lord is Krishna, and we've seen it ourselves. I've seen it many times, hundreds, thousands of times in my 50 years of being a devotee. Well, 49 years. Well, almost 49 years. That, you could have a roaring kirtan in the biggest city of the world and stop everything and make a huge impact. I've been present. Rath Yatra, 1976, New York, Fifth Avenue, or when Prabhupada danced in the streets of London in 1973, And during these times, even though there's so many disturbances and so many, such an agitated atmosphere, when the holy name is there and all the devotees are chanting together, especially when Prabhupada was there, the whole atmosphere changed. I used to travel, village to village to visit the traveling Sankirtan devotees with Pragosh, my godbrother Pragosh. Just me and him in a vehicle. I think we had one driver and translator. And we would go around, and sometimes we would have kirtan in the villages, just me and him, me playing kartals and him playing the mridanga and chanting. And we would stop the whole thing. The sound just drowned out any other noise, any other vibration. It was amazing. The power of the holy name. No exaggeration. And we've all seen it. If you've done Harinam Sankirtan in the streets, you've seen people dance in joy, just out of, spontaneously. Because it's what people want to do. They don't want to live in fear. They want to dance in the streets. Hare Krishna.
And from Vrajaloka.
Hare Krishna Vrajaloka.
Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for reading today. This is our real shelter. It was very interesting and touching to hear today how a real saintly king thinks. I was especially touched when he spoke about the right of every living being in the state, para, to be properly protected. How sophisticated and sensitive the Vedic culture is, and how very crude our modern culture is. Your servant.
Yes, it's gross. It's in gross ignorance. Hare Krishna.
And from Daitari Hari.
Yes, Daitari Hari.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thanks for tonight's reading. A common theme I noticed tonight was about the importance of following the codes of the Lord. It is sometimes frustrating that we live in such an atheistic country like the UK, where people are often very averse to the very idea of that principle because of how badly it's been represented, and you almost have to catch people at just the right moment in their lives, when they're willing to completely give up caring what the rest of society thinks of them, in order for them to really see these principles as crucial in their lives. I really liked the point that it's the duty of the leader to give all protection to the law-abiding citizens. Now we see evil, ruthless people making alliances with others like them, who get to power by crooked means, and innocent people are devoured. Nice to hear about how things should be.
Yes. That very nice realization, and very nicely put also. Thank you very much. Keep cultivating that. You should write. Write and preach. The real power of a devotee, of a Vaishnava devotee, who is not a king. The kings ruled by the strength of their arms, but the Brahmins ruled by the strength of their minds and the strength of their words. And so the real mystic power is not, to be able to make a fruit appear by saying the word fruit, like some mystics try to do. But the real mystic power or perfection of voice, it's called Vak Siddhi in Sanskrit, is the ability to change the heart of another person by your words. Abhay went out today to Canterbury to do book distribution, and he met some nice people, and he met one nice person who said that, what was it he said? He felt a change of heart.
He was spiritually touched.
Yeah, he was spiritually touched by the things that Abhay was saying to him. So this is the potency of the Lord, and any living being can have it as long as they agree to hear with submission and then repeat what they've heard without diluting it with material ideas, material conceptions. So there's great power in these books and great power in distributing them, getting people to take them into their homes, and this will keep on going. Don't think that the book distribution will stop just because there will be some kind of war or something. It will go on. Life goes on. It always does. And over a long period of time, 5,000 years is a long time, it will keep increasing until there's some significant influence over these evil men. Prabhupada told us that the way the world is constituted now, the masses of people, they do have power. Just like now, even in Russia, there are protests going on in most of the cities about this war. The people don't want the war. It's not what they want. So Prabhupada said, if you want, to have, in this age, you want to have strong leaders, first of all, you have to convince the mass of people, or at least a large enough percentage of them, of the truth of these scriptures, and get them to read them and educate them. And then eventually they can choose, a person who's actually saintly in character. That may take a long time, but that's the will of the Lord. That's the will of Lord Chaitanya. And it will happen. It's just a matter of time. Hare Krishna.
From Rati Manjari.
Yes, Rati.
In regards to the crowds saluting the vicious Hitler, there is a natural tendency to worship in the heart of every living entity. It is what we are created for. Could it be that that is part of that phenomenon?
Yes. Absolutely. Unfortunately, in Kali Yuga, when the laws of God are forgotten and the laws of man, imperfect laws of man, are followed, then it's misused. The power is misused. And then people become, innocent people suffer, and crooked people are rewarded. But in the end of the day, those who are actually crooked, they get exposed. The laws of nature have a way of dealing with them also. But we should always remember that, just as we've been hearing again and again, how vicious and sinful it is to kill the cow and the bull, especially in mass, quantities. It's just so sinful we can't even think. It's unthinkable what's happening now. Unspeakable, at least. But as a result of that, all these things are happening in terms of war and pestilence and pandemics and natural disasters. When there were actual saintly kings like Yudhishthira and Parikshit, these things weren't happening. They began when Parikshit Maharaj came, and a little tiny bit before. Maharaj Yudhishthira saw something happening just when Krishna left the planet. Hare Krishna.
And one more comment from Rati Manjari.
Yes, Rati.
It is hard to imagine that there is a supersoul in the heart of these demoniac leaders, but we know that he is there. How magnanimous the Lord is, and how inconceivable as well, that he is able to tolerate how a living entity can do such wrongdoings.
Well, he's the father of all living beings. And just like the father, a real father, may have so many sons, and some of them may stay and be loyal and stay close to the family, and others may just, run away and do all nonsense. But the father still loves the son. You can't stop being a person's father or a person's son. So because Krishna is the father of everyone, even if they're miscreants, still he tries to bring them back. He's in the heart, and he's Suridam Sarvabhutanam. We can't actually have peace of mind unless we accept this principle, that Lord's the benefactor of all sacrifices. He's the proprietor of everything, everyone, and he's the dearmost friend of all living beings. Suridam Sarvabhutanam. He's not that kind of friend you just hang out with and do things with that you like to do, but he's Surit, Suridam. Rit means heart, and Su means good. His heart is good towards you, a real friend.
And from Gemma Rutter.
Jamarato?
Gemma Rutter.
Jamarato. Hare Krishna.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for tonight's reading and your dedication to sharing the transcendental nectar of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Good to share God's instructions with the world who need to learn this sacred knowledge. Jai Prabhupada, all glories to Lord Sri Gauranga Chaitanya. Namaste, Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Hare Bol. Thank you so much. That was nice. Okay, I have some phone call I have to make, very important. And I'd like to thank you all very much again and again and again. And I will continue to for the rest of this life, I hope. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night, same time, same place, same topic. The enlightening of Dharma, who will respond to Maharaj Parikshit's questions. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow. Hari Bol.